Hello, and welcome to Wishing You Well. I'm Maria Patrick, health coach, wellness guide, and someone who truly believes that small, intentional, daily choices can create a life of vibrant health and strength and peace and longevity. This podcast is your space to slow down, listen, reconnect with yourself, and learn simple, natural ways to support your body, your mind, and your spirit without any pressure. Here we focus on realistic wellness, the kind that fits into your life. Today's episode is about one of my favorite topics because it brings us back to something beautifully simple, something many of us have drifted away from, and that's cooking. And the surprising research about the benefits that cooking can have for your health. Recently, researchers have been taking a closer look at everyday habits that protect our brain health, and one finding stands out. People who cook their own meals regularly have a lower risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Let that sink in for a moment. Not a complicated supplement routine, not an expensive program, but cooking. In several studies, including research on aging populations, scientists have found that individuals who frequently prepared meals at home showed better memory retention, slower cognitive decline, and greater independence as they aged. What's even more interesting is that cooking was found to be just as protective, if not more, than some traditionally recommended brain exercises. This may leave you wondering, as I was when I heard about these studies, why is cooking so powerful? How does it protect your brain? Because cooking is not just one activity. It's actually, when you think it through, a full brain workout. Because when you cook, you're engaging your memory by recalling recipes and the steps and the ingredients. You're planning and organizing. You have to think ahead what you're going to make, what you need, what order to do things. You're focused and paying attention. You have to time things. You have to monitor the heat. You have to stay present. You're using motor skills, chopping, stirring, measuring. These all keep your coordination sharp. And you're using your senses. You have sensory awareness, smell, taste, texture, color, all of which stimulate your brain. Cooking lights up multiple areas of the brain at once, and that kind of stimulation is exactly what our brain wants and needs. It's incredibly protective. So here's the truth. Cooking has become a lost art, and many of us have slowly been stepping away from cooking because we live in a world of takeout, prepackaged meals, drive-thrus, eating on the go, DoorDash. And while convenience has its place, we've lost something deeper. Cooking used to be a daily ritual, a creative expression, a time to slow down, a way of caring for ourselves and others, and a way of finding connection. And now it's just seen as a chore. But I'd like to reframe that. What if cooking became, as the studies are indicating, a form of self-care? I think that would make cooking one of the most underrated self-care practices. But think about it. When you cook, you're nourishing your body with real food. You're creating something with your hands. You're taking a break from your screens. You're engaging all of your senses, as I mentioned earlier, and you're being present in the moment. It can become almost meditative. Chopping the vegetables, stirring a warm pot, smelling herbs and spices, even tasting things along the way. These are grounding experiences. And what do we know about grounding? It reduces our stress. And what do we know happens when our stress is lowered? Our brain gets protected. So let's not forget that there's another key piece of this research. When you cook at home, you're naturally going to be eating better because home cooked meals tend to include, they're just healthier because they include more vegetables, better fats, healthier cooking oils, less processed ingredients, less sugar, less sodium, and these foods are directly linked to brain health. The vegetables, the healthy fats, the reduction of processed foods. So think of it as this: when you're cooking, you're very likely using olive oil and the vegetables, leafy greens, perhaps some nuts, berries, whole grains. These are the foods that support the brain and reduce our body's overall inflammation. So cooking doesn't just stimulate our brains, it fuels our brain. You don't have to be a good cook in order for this to be helpful. So let's just say that again. Let's repeat it together. You do not have to be a gourmet chef to get the benefits, the health benefits for your body and your brain. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about having a culinary degree. It's about doing something for yourself. It's about fully participating. And even simple meals count. Scrambling your eggs, stir frying your vegetables, making a soup from scratch, preparing a simple salad, making a loaf of bread. The act of cooking is what matters, not how complex the recipe is or how many ingredients you're using. So if you've ever said to yourself, I'm not a good cook, I can't do it, we need to let that go. You don't need to impress anyone. This is something that you're going to do for yourself, for your brain, for your health, for your future. I often say this to my clients: do something today that your future self will thank you for. If cooking feels overwhelming, start small and then build upon that. I'm going to give you a few ways that you can begin. Try to cook one meal at home each day. Try one new recipe a week. Prep your ingredients in advance and keep your kitchen stocked with the basics. You can even turn your meal prepping and cooking into a ritual. You can romanticize it, if you will. It's something that I talked about in an episode of the podcast earlier this year. You can play soft music. You can light some candles. You can put on a favorite program. You can take your time. You can listen to a podcast. Make your cooking experience something that you look forward to, not something that you dread or that you just try to rush through. Cooking is something that naturally brings you into the present moment. We have to pay attention when the oven is on and the stovetop is on and something is boiling or the flame is underneath a pot or a pan. That presence, that moment, present moment awareness and presence is very powerful, because when you are present, your nervous system begins to calm. Your stress hormones start to decrease. And what happens is that your brain will start functioning more clearly and more efficiently. Cooking can become a form of a moving meditation, because instead of rushing around and about, you're slowing down. Instead of your normal, what could be your normal, which is your multitasking, you're focusing on one thing at a time. And that shift alone is the place where you can find healing. Another benefit of cooking your own meals is that it can bring you that connection. You can cook with someone else. If you have someone sharing your home with you, you have a partner. If you have children, you can have your children help you. You can teach them along the way. Or if you live alone, you can share what you cook with someone that you know, a neighbor nearby, a loved one, a friend, someone that could benefit from you sharing a meal with them. Social connection, we hear this so very often, is one of the strongest protective factors against dementia. So when you're cooking and then sharing food, you're not just feeding your body, you're not just fueling your brain, you're feeding your relationships and your social connections. I want you to picture your future self, the one that's going to thank you for the work that you're doing to improve your health and wellness. Picture yourself 10 or 20 or 30 years from now. Picture yourself as strong and independent and capable and clear-minded and healthy. It's the habits that we build today that shape us for the future. And if something as simple as cooking can be one of those habits, it certainly behooves us to change our wicked ways and put down the DoorDash and start grabbing the pots and the pans and the recipes and the cookbooks and the ingredients. Remember, it's not about doing everything at once. It's not about being perfect. It's about doing small things, but doing them consistently. Every week I end the podcast with an invitation for you to do something today, tomorrow, this week, and until we meet again. And this week, I'm inviting you to return to your kitchen, not as a chore or as duty or as obligation, but to find it as a place that can be peaceful to you, nourishing for you, and a place where you can be your creative and mindful best. Cook something simple. Enjoy the process. Let it be slow. Let it be imperfect. Because in that simple act, you're supporting your body. You are improving the health of your brain. You are preventing dementia from setting in. And you are working on your long-term health in an incredibly powerful way. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen, to spending this time with me today on Wishing You Well. If this episode meant something to you, if it resonated with you, please, when you're sharing food with someone you love, perhaps you can recommend my podcast and share that with them as well. Maybe you can even cook and or eat a meal together. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be gentle with yourself, cook for yourself, and as always, please remember, my dear listeners, that I am wishing you well.